For today's video, we will discuss about the gross gifts. We will determine its definition, inclusions and exemptions, composition, reciprocity rule under the Section 104 of the Tax Code. Gifts include real and personal property, whether tangible or intangible, or and wherever situated, provided, however, that where the donor was a non-resident alien at the time of donation, his real and personal property so transferred, but which are situated outside the Philippines, shall not be included as part of the gross gifts. So we have three classifications of donors. We have the resident or the citizen donors. We have the non-resident alien subject to reciprocity, and the non-resident alien not subject to reciprocity. Next, we have the pro forma calculation of the donor's tax due. We have the amount of gross gifts less the allowable deductions. So there are some allowable deductions subtracted to the amount of gross gifts, which will be discussed in the next slide. Then the difference will be the current net gifts less the exemption threshold of 250,000. Then the excess will be the taxable net gifts multiplied with a tax rate of 6% to come up with the donor's tax due. We have here the inclusions and the exemptions in computing the amount of the gross gifts. We have here the direct gifts. This includes the financial resources such as cash, gifts through creation of trust, transfer of insufficient consideration, which is applicable only for the intangible property, wherein the consideration must be less than to the fair market value of the property to be included in the amount of the gross gifts. We have the condonation of debt, repudiation of inheritance, renunciation of the surviving spouse. So below are the following exemptions in the amount of the gross gifts. These are not exclusions, but they are treated as deductions in the amount. We have here the encumbrances. Example is the mortgage assumed by the donee, diminution or the decrease in the value of the donated property, gifts to national government, gifts to education, charity, and etc. Exempt gifts under special laws. So whether the donor is a citizen or resident or a non-resident alien, they are still allowed to subtract these following exemptions. For the composition of gross gifts, we have here the classification of donors. We have the citizen or resident donor. So this is composed of a resident citizen, non-resident citizen, and a resident alien. On the other side, we have here the non-resident alien. So when we say the property is located within or outside the Philippines, they are included in the gross gifts amount if the donor is a citizen or a resident. Whereas a non-resident alien, the inclusions are only the property within the Philippines. And for the intangible property, they are subject for the reciprocity rule. So when we say reciprocity rule, it applies to a non-resident alien donor with respect to donations of intangible properties within the Philippines. So those intangible properties are like shares from the company. So there is a reciprocity when the donor at the time of the donation was a citizen and a resident of a foreign country, which at the time of the donation did not impose a transfer tax or allows a similar exemptions from transfer taxes. So when the donation is from the citizen and a resident of a foreign country, they are excluded in the computation of the gross gifts. Okay, we have here a sample problem 6.1. We are required to determine the amount of gross gifts subject to donor's tax, assuming the donor is a resident citizen, a non-resident citizen, a resident alien, non-resident alien with reciprocity, and a non-resident alien without reciprocity. So remember, we have three classification of donors. We have the resident or citizen donors, we have the non-resident alien with reciprocity, and the non-resident alien without reciprocity. So asa man nabilong ni non-resident citizen and ang resident alien. So nabilong na sila sa first classification, which is the resident or citizen donor. So meaning, same na sila o amount nga ibutang sa gross gifts. So we have here the example. Remember, if the donor is a resident citizen, all those real and personal property within and without or outside the Philippines are included in the gross gifts amount. So we have here the car to Abel of 800,000, the condominium unit of 3 million, shares to the total of 350,000, building of 5 million, land in Isabela of 1.5 million, cash from Chen, Christine, and Jabri, total of 700,000, a land in QC, 3 million minus 2 million, that is the fair market value minus the consideration of the property. So we have the excess of 1 million. Land in USA, we have 10 million minus the 5 million. We have the excess of 5 million. And the car in Manila of 1 million minus 800,000, we have the excess of 200,000. So, sum it all, we have the total of 17,550,000. So, as you observe, wala na to gi-appeal ang land 2, which is a Taguig, because the property consideration is higher than the fair market value, and by that it is not included in the gross gifts amount. So the gross gift of 17,550,000 less the allowable deductions of 2 million, it is from the mortgage of Earl, a building in Singapore. It is assumed by the donee, so it is a deduction. We have here the current net gifts of 15,550,000 less the exemption threshold of 250,000. Then we have arrived to the taxable net gifts of 15,300,000. Okay, then we proceed to the non-resident citizen. Okay, remember, resident citizen, non-resident citizen, and a resident alien are on the same classification whether nag-reside ang donor on the other country. As long as citizen sila sa Philippines, their donations within and outside the Philippines are still included in the gross gifts amount. We have the total gross gifts for a non-resident citizen of 17,550,000. So if we're going to determine the taxable net gifts, we have here the 15,300,000. So for the resident alien, same ra sila og amount for the gross gifts. We also have the 17,550,000 since resident alien, resident citizen, and non-resident citizens are on the same classification of donors. Next, we have the non-resident alien with reciprocity. We have the car to Abel of 800,000, land in Isabela of 1,500,000, cash total of 600,000, land 1 in the excess of 1 million, and car in Manila of 200,000. So we have the total gross gifts of 4,100,000. So when we have the taxable net gifts, we arrive at the total amount of 3,850,000. Next, we have a non-resident alien without reciprocity, meaning they have no exclusions in the amount. So we have here the car to Abel of 800,000, shares from Gore and Alexa 350. So we have here na mga intangible properties of Gore and Alexa. They are shares from the foreign or domestic corporation. We have here the land in Isabela of 1.5 million, cash from Chan and Gabi of 600,000, land 1 million, and car in Manila of 200,000, for a total of 4,450,000. So we have here a total amount for the taxable net gifts of 4,250,000. Okay, that's all for today's discussion. Thank you for watching and have a good day.